has never seen before.
And Pete Hegseth says 2 weeks in,
today will be, yet again, the highest volume of strikes that America has put over the skies of Iran.
As for the Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who put out a written statement yesterday vowing to continue to avenge the U.S. and Israeli attacks, Hegseth says,
his father, dead. He's scared, he's injured, he's on the run, and he lacks legitimacy. It's a mess for them.
Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane, the military's top general, paid tribute to the 4 American troops killed in a mid-air collision between refueling planes in Iraq as a rescue mission continues for the 2 missing.
Our service members make an incredible sacrifice to go forward and do the things that the nation asks of them.
The crash did not involve enemy or friendly fire. You can hear from President Trump about the war in a few minutes on the Fox Brian Kilmeade radio show. In the interview, Brian asks him about heightened concern about attacks here in the U.S.
They're really demented people, and has been going on for a long time. They come into the country, they sneak in.
He blames an illegal immigration surge under President Biden that he stopped. The attacks yesterday, though, in 2 states were both carried out by naturalized U.S. citizens. The one who drove a truck into a synagogue outside Detroit, Michigan, came from Lebanon and had family members killed the other day in an Israeli airstrike. He was shot dead by synagogue security. Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer just urged people,
call out where we see acts of anti-Semitism, where we see threats, where we see something, how important it is to say something.
In Virginia, it was a man once convicted for supporting ISIS terror who shot an instructor dead at Old Dominion University, then wounded 2 others until students attacked and killed him. The economy was weaker than first thought at the end of last year. GDP growth has been revised for the 4th quarter. It cut in half to just 0.7%, but on Wall Street, stocks are surging. America's listening to Fox News.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
The station Delaware and Maryland turns to for local news. Here is another Delmarva News Update here on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and the WGMD app.
A man from Salisbury was sentenced yesterday to life plus 60 years in Wicomico County Circuit Court. He was 18-year-old Michael Elliott. He had been convicted of first-degree murder and other charges in a 2023 gang dispute tied to a social media video. The shooting outside a restaurant killed one person and seriously injured another. One co-defendant pleaded guilty to murder. Another was convicted as an accessory. Prosecutors say the harsh sentence sends a clear message against gang violence in the community. Yesterday afternoon on Wheatfield Road in Greenwood, Delaware State Police tried to serve a warrant on a man who barricaded himself in a camper. He also sent threatening messages, including photos of a gun and a coffin. He was wanted in Virginia for terroristic threats. He was 60-year-old Jeffrey Mitchum, and when he refused to surrender, troopers shot him in the arm. Mitchum tossed out his handgun, came out, and was taken into custody. He's hospitalized with serious injuries and faces multiple charges. He's being held on a $43,000 bond. Trooper, by the way, is on administrative leave during the ongoing investigation with the Department of Justice. Well, spring break is here, and gas prices are climbing fast. The national average jumped nearly 35 cents last week to around $3.60 a gallon, similar to spring of 2024, driven by warmer weather, more road trips, and crude oil topping $87 a barrel. To ease the pressure, the U.S. is releasing 172 million barrels from the strategic reserves. It's all part of a huge global effort. In Delaware, regular gas averages $3.38 today. That's up 23 cents weekly and 58 cents yearly. South Jersey sits at $3.50. That's up even more sharply. The Georgetown to Lewis Trail will close from Cool Spring Road to Savannah Road starting Monday through next Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. DOT crews are clearing trees in the area. You'll need to plan alternate routes if you're using the trail those days. More details can be found at del.gov. For more on these and those stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com.
Start your weekend early at Big Oyster Brewery in Lewis or Milford, or at Finn's Raw Bar on Coastal Highway in Rehoboth. Fridays feature a $15 lunch combo that delivers big flavor and serious value. Fresh food, craft beer, and the perfect way to kick off Friday. Made by the people, for the people. Visit BigOysterBrewery.com or FinnsRawBar.com.
Broadcasting from the Frank B. Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Welcome to Digital Interactive Friday. I'm your anchorman, Jake Smith, sitting behind the golden microphone, wearing a tie today. And so much to talk about, my friends. I said in the monologue this morning, if you were listening to the radio side of the broadcast, that no one should be surprised that we are facing a new age of terrorism here in the United States. The border was open wide for 4 years. There were legal immigrants to this country that have been granted access to this country that never should have been allowed in here. I mean, come on. Do we look that dumb to those who did this? But the fact is, we've got a lot to deal with. And I wanted to just play a cut this morning. I actually played it to open the show. And the actual cut itself comes from Aaron Cohen, courtesy of the Fox News Channel, the founder of Gideon, and talks about the mindset of the globalists, the jihadists.
Trace, the internet is the biggest pre-attack intelligence environment in the world. People have been talking about the sleeper cells for the last couple of days. Sleeper cells are a gift, in my opinion, coming from the intelligence side of the house. The reason why is because they leave breadcrumbs. They're in the chat groups. The FBI's in there. They're watching under fake accounts. They're leaving. They're talking logistics. It's very difficult to move and form and join one of these sleeper cells without the federal government being on top of you. But the fact is most of these lone wolves are radicalizing online, which you and I have discussed in length. Grievance, ideation, leakage, planning. The challenge for law enforcement is how do they get to that signal and get upstream before that shooter pivots outwards. And Trace, we've got another suicide-homicide crossover with both of these shooters, which means they were prepared to die.
And that's the mindset which we fail to recognize in this country. I want to welcome in our first panelist of our digital interactive broadcast, and that is Jody Weiss, former FBI agent, former superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. Jody, thanks so much for joining us this morning. From your vantage point in your years in law enforcement and in the FBI, what did you note just over the past week? We had Austin, obviously, New York City, and we've had a suburban Detroit attack at a synagogue, and of course the attack at an ROTC class at Old Dominion yesterday. What is your analysis of what these attacks are, where they came from, and what are we likely to see in the near future?
Jake, good to be with you. That could be a lengthy question we could discuss, but I'll try and keep it a little bit more concise. I think what Aaron talked about is what you're seeing. You look at the individual at Old Dominion. You know, he was put in prison for material support to ISIS. He's in prison. Obviously, he got even further radicalized before just providing support. Now he wants to kill people. You go through all these incidents. We haven't gone enough through the investigation to find the exact motive, but I think you're exactly right. The sleeper cells, in some ways, you can find them. If they're getting support from the host country, from Iran or whatever state sponsor of terrorism, oftentimes it's Hezbollah, a group like that. Those are opportunities to find it. My greatest fear, especially when I was in the FBI and with CPD, were these lone wolves that are sitting there, they're getting radicalized online, they see what's going on overseas, and something snaps in them, and they feel they have to make a difference. And the one thing I would want to highlight, Jake, all too often when you do the after action, you do the investigation, you find family members who are like, you know, he just wasn't right. He's been acting strange. He's been living on his computer. He's very angry. So I would ask all of your audience, if you know someone like that, you know, have that conversation, you know, talk to them, talk to authorities, because almost every incident we see Someone has seen this person acting in a way that made them feel suspicious.
Now, the Old Dominion terrorist was taken down by ROTC students in the classroom. They actually took care of him. Were you surprised that happened, or you're not surprised, Jody?
I was surprised, and I have to say I'm pretty happy. I think America has to wake up and recognize they have to be patriotic. And you know what? You see your instructor just killed in front of you, and those students went in, and my understanding is they stabbed this guy to death. So they were facing a threat, an individual armed with a weapon. They were definitely in fear of their life. He had the ability to kill them. He had the intent to kill them, and he was certainly motivated. So those students should be heroes. My greatest fear, Jake, is somebody's going to try to indict them for killing this guy. But that was pretty impressive that those young students came up and took some action to protect themselves, as well as the rest of that school.
Now, you mentioned that the terrorist that stormed the Old Dominion School, Mohammed Baylor Jallow, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison. The Department of Justice asked the federal judge, who was a Bush appointee, by the way, for 20 years in prison for being someone who provided material support to ISIS. He got 11 years, but he also got time off for time served and then got out early anyway. I don't understand it.
Absolutely shocking. And everybody involved with that decision to let him out, I know they can't predict the future, but they have blood on their hands. Material support cases are extremely hard cases to make. And you need to have a deterrent so that if you're sending support to ISIS and you get caught and you get convicted, you serve a 20-year sentence. ISIS would love to kill America. They would like to destroy our country, destroy Israel. So let's set a deterrent. But to let this guy get half the sentence the government wanted, then he gets out early, and what does he do? He goes out and kills a soldier, I believe a lieutenant colonel, who served multiple tours overseas, and he's dead in front of these students.
And he apparently, the terrorist, traveled to Africa for 6 months back in 2016, meeting with ISIS terrorists then, and yet he's given citizenship. He's a naturalized American. This country really needs to have a come-to-Jesus moment with this, because we're in the position we're in. Would you agree, Jody? Because of our government has put us in this position, and we've sat back and allowed it to happen.
100%, Jake. That is insane. And if you give someone naturalized citizenship, guess what? You can take it away. But think about what happened the past 4 years. We had millions of people come across, and everybody thinks, well, they're just coming from South and Central America. Oh, no. There were more than 160 countries that these individuals came from, many of which are not friendly to us. You got 2 million gotaways. We have no idea what they're doing. And, I'm a fan of Trump, but when he says, well, we know the sleeper cells, come on. I don't think we know where all those 2 million people are. And at that time, Jake, why would you try to evade Border Patrol? You were getting all the free stuff. So if you're trying to evade capture, what are you really up to? So we've got so many variables right now. And you're right. The U.S. government has to take a hard look and make a commitment to keep us safe. Because right now, I think the country is extremely vulnerable to lone wolves attacks, sleeper cells, and somebody waiting to vent their anger and hatred toward America on those of us who cherish this country.
I remember 9/11 very clearly. I actually worked at the World Trade Center in New York City on September the 11th. I wasn't there that day. I was on my way to LaGuardia Airport in New York to take a flight. If I was there that day, I would not be sitting here talking to you today, Jody. But what's going on right now with what is, in essence, the defunding of the Department of Homeland Security, which was created, the agency was created to protect us at times which we're facing right now. But I've got to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask you, you're very obviously familiar with Chicago, being the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. Would you be comfortable boarding a flight at O'Hare today, knowing that hundreds of TSA agents have quit in the last week, given up because they just can't get their paychecks, that working conditions suck, excuse the expression. But the fact is those that are working are being pushed too hard, working long hours, and are far more likely to miss something that is going through security checkpoints at O'Hare Airport. When we come back and we talk about the danger to the country from the stressing of TSA agents who are still on the job and the defunding of the Department of Homeland Security. Can we talk about that, sir?
Absolutely.
All right, Jody, thank you so much. We'll be right back in just a moment. Your News Talk America, we're talking terrorism, back in just a moment.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. 50 today under mainly clear skies. Winds out of the south, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 43 tonight. High temperatures reach up to 57 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Mainly cloudy skies expected Sunday with a high of 60. 68 thunderstorms likely Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently 36.
The best mix of news, talk, and sports. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva. You're listening to WGMD.
I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg with your KFC weekend weather update. On Saturday, expect temperatures to not be as cool with a mix of clouds and sunshine throughout the day, reaching a high of 57. Moving on to Sunday, it will be breezy and pleasant with a blend of clouds and sunshine, offering a high of 61 at the beach and 68 inland. KFC is the only place where you can get 2 tenders, lettuce, tomato, and signature pepper mayo all in one wrap. That's no snack wrap. That's the deliciously filling twister. Only at KFC. Prices and participation may vary.
If you need a new appliance, this is your sign. Shop at Lowe's now to get up to 35% off and next day delivery on hundreds of major appliances. A new appliance now means an easier to-do list later. Our best lineup is at Lowe's. Valid through 3/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Order by 4 p.m. Available Monday through Saturday. Subject to availability. Fees, exclusions, and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/appliance delivery for more details.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
If you can't find your favorite Talk of Delmarva shows on the WGMD app, here's a tip. Download the WGMD app from the Apple Store or Google Play on your smartphone. Open the app and click on the red box on the upper left of the screen to reveal a pull-down menu. Click on Other Stations, then click on 92.7 or 98.5. Then enjoy your favorite shows from the Talk of Delmarva.
The only live show on the peninsula from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Recapping a busy weekend of news. Sunday nights with Bill Cunningham here on 92.7 WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. MJ Powell, weekdays 3 to 6 here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Heineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday continues. Your News Talk America. You can watch the program at realnewstalk.com. We're streaming video right now. You can also, if you've got Facebook handy, watch the program live and in living color on Facebook Live. We are welcomed by, and we're very privileged to have with us, Jody Weiss, former FBI agent, former superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. And we're soon to be joined by Jeffrey Halstead, former police chief of the Fort Worth Police Department. All right, Jody, you heard my preliminary question there before we went to break about if you were taking a flight out of O'Hare today, would you be concerned that TSA agents would miss something?
You have to be, Jake. And think about it. I'm just amazed, astounded, and at a loss to understand when we have a conflict going on in Iran and we don't fund the very department that was designed to keep us safe from terrorism attacks.
Right.
Yeah, these guys are working hard. They're missing things. They've got, understandably a bit of an attitude. So it's very easy to miss something. And having been a bomb tech for a lot of years, with the sophistication of new explosive devices, it is not that easy to detect them. It's not something so blatant you're going to see big clock and dynamite and wires and batteries.
Right.
They're very, very sophisticated.
That's Hollywood's. That's how Hollywood identifies a threat, right?
And to not fund DHS at this time, it's insane, Jake. And these people should be ashamed of themselves. And God forbid we have, an airplane gets blown up because these people, miss something because of the way they're being treated right now. It's outrageous. And these people, the left should be ashamed of themselves for what they're doing to the men and women in DHS across the board, not just TSA, but across the board.
I agree with you 100%. We're just asking for trouble. Chuck Schumer senior senator from New York, Hakeem Jeffries, congressman, House Minority Leader, both of them from New York. I can't believe that New Yorkers are actually letting them get away with this, but we are now joined by Jeffrey Halstead, former chief of the Fort Worth Police Department. Chief, welcome to Your News Talk America. We were just talking with Jody Weiss just moments ago about how TSA agents, they're undermanned right now because TSA agents by the hundreds have resigned. I don't blame them. I would have done the same. You know, you do your work, you want to get paid, for crying out loud. But how dangerous is this situation? Former chief of Fort Worth, you know how important Dallas-Fort Worth Airport is. DFW is a very big airport. It's a big hub just like O'Hare is. How concerned are you, Chief, that this defunding of the Department of Homeland Security is going to, well, it's not going to end well for America? What do you think?
Yeah, good morning, Jake. Good to be with you. And it's great to see Jody. We were actually chiefs together at Major City Chiefs, so I'm honored to be here. It's good to see friends. With that said, on DFW, you're absolutely right. It is a pretty high security risk, but you got to remember just 20 miles away is the hub for Southwest Airlines. Right. Same challenges, same issues. The volume of traffic coming just between those two airports are feeding the entire nation, especially, the southern portion of the country. So it elevates
Chief,
that.
Let me just stop you there. Chicago and Dallas-Fort Worth are mirror images of each other because O'Hare is the American hub and Midway Airport is the Southwest hub. Same thing in Dallas-Fort Worth area, right?
Yeah, exactly right. That's a great comparison. And then with the DHS having shut down, the FEMA restrictions, what concerns me in my role here at Genesis is we work with emergency managers and disaster response. We know there will be delays, so we are crossing fingers. Spring storms coming. Is there going to be a catastrophic incident that not only impacts the travel industry, but Americans? And I think that is going to be a significant challenge in addition to a lot of the TSA agents that are just basically walking off the job. They got to go find new work.
And again, we cannot blame them for this, but let me ask you both, is this not a sign that perhaps we should move airport security back to the local level? In other words, Jody, should the Chicago Police Department once again be responsible for airport security so it's out of the control of these lunatics in Washington? What do you say to that?
I think when you look at what's happened, Jake, you almost have to go with that answer. Either that or privatize it, one of the two things. But we cannot have our first line of defense basically destroyed because you have people in Washington that can't work together. They can't get away from this constant conflict. So I think that's something we should look at, or I always think privatization. Would that be another route to go? But we have to do something because what we're doing right now is not working. It's not right. And the American people deserve better than what they're getting from our U.S. government right now.
Chief, what do you say?
I made a statement when I was chief of police that I was hoping and praying that the technology industry does not want to take over policing, because when I look at the efficiency rates of Amazon and these behemoth technology corporations, they can probably streamline services a lot more efficiently the way we do. So I agree with Jody. If the privatization is without a doubt going to be one where things are far more streamlined because they're going to be profit driven and revenue attention getting. And then if you look at if we wanted to add a law enforcement component, that's probably going to be even more expensive when you add in labor costs, union expenses, overtime, and all the personnel benefits that come with that. I think the price tag could be even higher than a TSA. We're having a hard time just hiring people to fill the beats we have open today across the nation. So I think privatization may be the strongest consideration.
Yeah, Chief, you had the first of these terrorist attacks happen not far from you in Austin. I'm just based on your observation, your analysis. Were you surprised that this happened in Austin? And I guess South by Southwest, it's happening this week or next week. I don't remember. It could have been worse if the timing had been differently, right?
Yeah, I saw the video. I should say I was a little shocked it hit Austin in that manner because there are much more volatile targets just around the DFW Metroplex. With that said, these lone wolf actors and agitators like this person was in Austin, they just kind of get a mindset and they're just going to do it right then, right there. And then that's what happened here. Thankfully, those officers were extremely courageous and heroic, stopped the threat as soon as possible. But this does elevate, because now look at the string that we've had in the last 10 calendar days. Right. There's elevations, not just to Jewish synagogues and religious sites, but outdoor gatherings and major public events, i.e. FIFA 2026. Got to ramp up security and be ready for that.
Let me ask Jody, do you feel that Americans at this point are going to have to maybe alter their behavior, their plans? We're always told, don't alter your plans. Do what you want to do. If you see something, say something. But we're now going to get a taste of what Israelis live with on a daily basis. Should we alter our patterns of what we do, our behaviors, based on the terror threat that we're facing right now? Jody, what do you think?
Jake, I agree with you. I've always told people when you start changing your plans, you're letting them win. But I had the opportunity to see the DC sniper. In that case, we worked and supported. I saw firsthand how Washington, Maryland, and the district were basically shut down. Football games were canceled. People were running zigzag patterns to go to the grocery store. I think what we must do right now, we have to recognize that the threat level is elevated. We have so many people that walk around, they might as well have tattoo on their forehead victim. There's no situational awareness. So I do think don't stop what you're doing, but be really aware. And you know what? I'm a big fan of Second Amendment. If you're in a position and you feel comfortable, be armed, because police are great, but there's always going to be that lag time until they arrive. And if you're in a position where you can protect yourself or someone you love and you feel comfortable being armed, be armed. Because that's, to me, the first level of protection is to protect yourself, if at all possible.
Chief, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Jody. In fact, yesterday, sadly, I was at a church for a memorial service for a dear friend of mine, died of cancer, and I took my gun. And my wife was asking me, really? You think you need a gun? I'm like, did you not see another religious facility that was attacked? There's some bizarre terroristic cells out there that just want to take opportunity. They see a full church on a Thursday afternoon, easy target. There's no posted security. There's no officers out there, no marked police vehicles. And then we sat towards the back of the room on the edge of the pew, and I had situational awareness. But Jody's right. You go to any special event, any concert, everyone is on their phone, absolutely no attention. They have more attention to selfie videos and posting on social media than actually having their head on a swivel and being alert.
I have a question just posted on our Dial Interactive board for you both, and we'll leave this as the final question. If we get a Democrat president in 2028, do you think they will again open the border without vetting terrorists like Biden did? And we should also mention that I think it was 179 Iranians were caught and released at the southern border in the 4 years that Joe Biden was in office. Let me go to Jody first, and then we'll let the chief finish up.
100%. That's the new voting block. You bring people in, you put them on welfare, they get committed to the government, and this is who people are voting for. That's the only explanation I have of what happened there in the past 4 years. And we all know these folks are voting. We know that. So I would say 100%, Jake.
All right. Jody, we certainly know how you feel about it. What about you, Chief?
Yeah, but, well, you can listen to any Democratic candidate, and I am absolutely bipartisan. I don't support candidates. I guarded heads of state from both parties. I know it's a big game out there, but they will open up the border. I just want our border to be as secure as other massive countries like Russia and China.
But, Chief, we have to understand the bad guys are already here. They let the bad guys in. I've been driving that point home when Biden was in office. Yeah, close the border if you want, but the bad guys have already entered our country. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to get that point across.
I agree with you. In fact, when I ran the Fusion Center for the state of Arizona with Phoenix PD, we had the most terror cells within our universities, and they had already embedded themselves. We had to root them out. It took us years to get it back to a stable effort. And then again, they just wide open the border and they come back in. That's the frustrating part. It endangers the lives of our first responders, too.
I want to thank you both for coming back on. I'd love to have you both back on again because I have a suspicion we're going to be talking about this topic on a regular basis. This is what we have now. This has not surprised either of you, has it?
Not at all, Jake, and happy to join you anytime.
Thank you so much.
Same here.
All right. terrific. Jody Weiss, former FBI agent, former superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. Jeffrey Halstead, former chief of the Fort Worth Police Department. Thank you both. God bless, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Stay
Take
safe.
care.
You're listening to Your News Talk America. Back after this. Stay with us.
Here's the marine forecast from the Taco Del Marva Weather Center. A small craft advisory will be in effect for today. We'll start off today with west winds around 5 knots, switching to the south and increasing up to around 20 to 25 knots with gusts of 35 knots later on in the afternoon. Seas around 2 to 3 feet, building to 4 to 6 feet by this afternoon. Tides for Rehoboth Beach, low tide 10:22 a.m., high tide 4:19 p.m., low tide 10:14 p.m. For Cambridge, low tide 6:12 a.m., high tide 12:44 p.m., low tide 7:26 p.m. The current water temperature is 45.
The Rita Cosby Show, weeknights at 10 on WGMD's 98.5. Get the WGMD app online today. MJ Powell, afternoons on WGMD.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks opened higher following a mixed reading on inflation for January. The PCE price index cooled to 2.8% on an annual basis, but nudged slightly higher to 3.1%, excluding food and energy. Adobe shares are down 7%, and sales rose in the recent quarter, but Adobe's CEO is stepping down after 18 years. Also, Adobe says it will pay $75 million to the U.S. government to resolve allegations involving fees. Ulta Beauty sees slower growth this year. Shares are down 7.5%. Home builder Lennar says sales declined in the recent quarter. Its profit is down from a year ago, though the stock is up 2.5%. Lennar says it's using incentives and lower base prices to attract home buyers. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm J.D. Coselda. Invested in you.
Progressive presents Heroes That Keep Truckers Going. Today's hero, the Rest Up Bathroom Custodian. Is there toilet paper? No. Paper towels? No. Clean stalls? Also no. But the soap dispenser is full, and that counts for something. Thanks, hero. Know what else keeps truckers going? Progressive's expanded cargo protection through their enhanced Cargo Plus coverage. Get a quote at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Not available in California.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, on this Friday the 13th. Oh, boy. Friday the 13th. Can you imagine what we're going through right now? We're going to be talking with, and we're hopeful that, we're still waiting on our panelist. So while we are still waiting for our panelist, let me just read some of the postings in the Dial Lounge. There are some very interesting ones. Eric, our producer Eric, says the Second Amendment has never been more important than right now. Eric, I agree with you, and that's what the founders had in mind. The Demcoms don't want us to be armed, but we know why the Demcoms don't want us to be armed. They want their revolutionaries to be armed. Vanessa says, terrorism is working on me sadly. I won't fly. Well, Vanessa, why would you want to fly when TSA is undermanned right now? TSA is, I can tell you, if based on the fact that they've lost hundreds of TSA agents across the country, hundreds, and they're being forced to work longer hours without days off, there's going to be someone that's going to get something through that is going to attack one of our commercial airliners. That is going to happen, sadly. So why would you want to fly right now? Vanessa, I don't blame you. I don't want to fly right now either, and I'm not flying right now. Even at the store, I pay attention to where the exits are. Anytime you go into a public place, always pay attention to where the emergency exits are. Department store, restaurant. If you go into a restaurant, I see this all the time, restaurants add a table or two to increase their revenue, and they block emergency exits. Report them. If your grocery store is blocking an emergency exit because they are trying to quell the amount of shoplifting going on. Report them to your local fire marshal. That is something that you need to do. So again, there you go. That's from our producers in the Dial Lounge. Now let's get to the topic, and the next topic is red states versus blue states. We've talked about it frequently, haven't we, my friends? Well, if red states are able to lower property taxes, why are blue states raising them? And if you heard me mention earlier, Kami Mamdani wants to raise property taxes throughout the 5 boroughs of New York 10%. Well, there are not many taxpayers left in the 5 boroughs of New York anyway. Most of them have left and gone to Florida, even those who may be in the upper brackets of upper middle class earning brackets. But I want to welcome a panelist, who's joined us, Brooke Medina, Vice President of Communications for State Policy Network. Ms. Medina says in an opinion piece in the Washington Examiner that, quote, champagne socialism is forced to raise its glass to economic reality, unquote. Brooke, welcome to Your News Talk America. And it's really interesting that so many who were paying taxes in places such as New York City, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, have moved away. They've taken their money with them and brought it into red states, and red states are then able to lower the tax burden for everyone, right?
Yes, law of supply and demand there in operation, a la, just moving with our feet and
Right.
Taxpayers choosing where they're going. And, this is one of those, it is a repeated refrain that we see in the American story, which is that Americans have the freedom to move where there is more opportunity. And oftentimes that really is the typical American behavior. If there's not a reason to stay back, they're moving to better opportunities. And Mamdani, it seems like, is determined to give them even more New Yorkers more reasons to leave.
Well, Mamdani also has a partner in crime. Her name is Kathy Hochul. On this program, we call her Cruella DeVille.
Oh, well, I also heard your Kami Mamdani reference, so it seems like you and your show are excellent at coining some names. I've referred to Mamdani's behavior as socialism cosplay, because actually he's not even doing socialism, right? Not that anyone should, but in socialism, the expectation is that able-bodied people actually work, and it doesn't seem like he's bent on any of that happening. He just wants to pass out freebies, but absent that, now he's going to raise a regressive tax via the property tax on lower and middle income New Yorkers. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and anyone paying attention knows better, and I hope voters remember this next election.
You mentioned in your opinion piece in the Washington Examiner that New York City is perhaps the most expensive place to live in the country. Families everywhere are still trying to catch up to higher costs. Massive tax hike like his proposal would only make things worse for middle-class New Yorkers. I'm not sure there are a lot of middle-class New Yorkers really left. I mean, it's either the upper scale of those live on the Upper East Side, or those who don't earn a lot of money. The regular middle-class New Yorker who lived perhaps in Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, they probably have gone to Florida or the Carolinas, no?
Yeah, I think that's right. And that's interesting because really it wasn't until capitalism captured a lot of the West that we even saw the emergence of a middle class. And so that's actually a tell of an economy that is not functioning in a healthy way when there is a flagging middle class. And so that's concerning in and of itself. And so this is yet another reason to push more middle class and even wealthier New Yorkers away from the city. Something to note is that 55% of New York City's revenue comes from outside of the city through federal grants and paid on the backs of rural American taxpayers, which is fascinating when you think about how Mamdani is still insisting on even more money and trying to persuade Governor Hochul to increase even more taxes on wealthier Americans.
You know, I come from New York. I was born in New York City. I left, how many years ago now? 15 years ago, 15 years ago. My wife and I moved out. And we moved out precisely the way in which people are moving out today. I didn't like the way Albany was taxing me. I had enough of it, and we sold our house and we moved to a place that we felt was more reasonable to retire, and that was the state of Delaware. And we've got our own problems in Delaware. It's a Marxist state as well, and it's the benefits that we had living here are slowly being stolen from us by what we call the Democrat Communist Party on this program. But what's happening in California, it's the same thing. I mean, driving very wealthy Californians out of California, where they're actually leaving the Golden State and going to the Sunshine State in Florida. They're not bashful about leaving. Where, at the end of the day, do you think, Brooke, does this leave those places, those states like Portland, Oregon, and Oregon itself, California, New York? Where does it all end? Do they go bankrupt because their taxpayers are leaving? Their base that was keeping them stable for years is now leaving for greener pastures. Do they then come to Washington for handouts? How does this end?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unprecedented for cities to go bankrupt. That has happened in the past because contrary to the federal government, cities and states cannot print their own money. They actually have to at least feign balancing a budget. And eventually, those chickens come home to roost. And so this is one of those things that is absolutely unsustainable. The laws of economics continue to apply regardless of whether or not Mamdani is on the internet making, getting viral social media posts. Like, these facts still remain, and Americans have the freedom to be able to move to another state that provides them better opportunities. So what you're going to continue to see are those higher tax states that do not actually take care of the citizens and provide the proper functions of government. People are going to continue to flee them, and they're going to become a husk of what they used to be. And that's unfortunate. This is still part of our country. And so it's a shame, but until the voters actually engage and honestly care a little bit more about their state and local elections than they do just the national drama and vote accordingly, there's not going to be sufficient accountability in these states. So I think that's essential as well, is voter behavior changing on this.
But it doesn't look like, let's face it, we're talking about blue states here. The party that's in control of the blue states doesn't really seem to care. So is there a replacement strategy where, like, we're getting rid of the people that we don't want here, we're going to bring the people in that we do want? What do you think?
It depends. I mean, and this is why I think President Trump, as well as other members of Congress and certain state legislatures, have really insisted on citizens-only voting type bills, because I think there is a theory, whether it's substantiated via evidence or not, that importing voters from elsewhere is going to change the dynamics and ensure continued progressive hegemony in certain states. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I do know that across the state policy network and our organizations, there are many, many state affiliates of ours who are actively working on SAVE Act type legislation and helping lawmakers across their country make sure that their elections are shored up and have integrity.
We're being joined by panelist Brooke Medina, Vice President of Communications for State Policy Network. She's written an outstanding opinion piece, my friends. Champagne socialism is forced to raise its glass to economic reality. And Brooke, I have a question for you from one of our listener producers who's posted the question on our Dial interactive board from Eric, who says, will red states end of funding blue states shortfalls due to bad policy? So in other words, will I end up paying, and I've left New York 15 years ago, my federal tax dollars are still subsidizing New York. Are the red states still going to end up subsidizing these blue states, blue cities when they go belly up? And they certainly will. They're on collision course with disaster, right?
Yes, I mean, most of us can remember 2008, too big to fail bailouts that happened of financial institutions, and it's not going to be different with states. There will be bailouts that happen, and it does mean that it's going to be footed by taxpayers, which is incredibly important and unfortunate. Right. But even to this day, I mean, we are funding programs, welfare programs across the nation as well as across the world. Hence, DOGE was such a popular thing last year. And so this is one of those matters that even if you live somewhere else where you really are happy with how the governance of your state, there are still prices that we have to pay as responsible citizens due to no fault of our own, but poor governance, which is why it's really essential that we ensure that voters across the country are well informed and actually elect officials that are committed to governing.
One of our listener producers, Big Cat, is in the Dial Lounge. It's kind of a chat room, and says, Delaware has some of the lowest real estate property taxes. Jake, did you consider that when you moved? Well, Big Cat, let me just say, yes, property taxes here are low. That was a very important aspect of our deciding to move out of New York. But it's not just property taxes. Income taxes here in Delaware are no bargain. The way in which the state taxes income is certainly not in no way friendly to those who to move here. We realize that, but again, just because property taxes are low doesn't mean that you're living off the high horse. He said DeSantis is the best governor. Would you agree with that, Brooke?
Well, I will say that DeSantis has proposed some policies that I believe a number of our affiliates across State Policy Network are fans of, including expanding school choice, lowering taxes, deregulation. And there are governors across the country that do the same. I had the honor of interviewing Governor Kim Reynolds from Iowa a few months ago, right. And plenty of others that really are taking the job of governance seriously. But Florida and what Governor DeSantis are doing are some great examples of how to govern correctly.
And Governor DeSantis and his administration want to eliminate Florida property taxes, but he's getting some pushback from his own party. Is that true?
So that's part of the challenge is if you're going to eliminate taxes, though, you also have to reduce spending. And so there is that natural tension that's going to happen between an executive branch like the governor and the state legislature. And even within the state legislature, we know that between a House and a Senate, there's these tensions. And so as long as they've got a plan in place to ensure that there are sufficient revenues in other ways, to me, that makes sense. But it's a healthy debate to have, even within the Republican Party.
No question. And we should debate more. We don't debate enough, in my estimation. Brooke Medina, Vice President of Communications for State Policy Network. How do we find out more about State Policy Network, Brooke?
Go to spn.org and find out how to fight for federalism.
spn.org. Sounds pretty easy to me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much. Remember, my friends, go to the Washington Examiner and read the latest opinion piece. Champagne socialism is forced to raise its glass to economic reality. Brooke, thank you. Have a great day. You're watching Your News Talk America. Back. We're going to talk energy and energy policy in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. 50 today under mainly clear skies. Winds out of the south, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 43 tonight. High temperatures reach up to 57 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Mainly cloudy skies expected Sunday with a high of 60. 68 thunderstorms likely Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Tonka of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Right now, it's 39 degrees.
92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, where the news comes first. You're listening to WGMD.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-969-1199. That's 800-969-1199.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Get your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
It's March, and it means it's time to transition out of the winter doldrums. Hi there, it's Mike Bradley on behalf of the Office of Worcester County Tourism, reminding you to get out and about and celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Ocean City with a parade. The Delmarva Irish American Club is hosting the annual St. Patrick's Day Festival this Saturday. Be a part of the celebration and check out the parade route online at delmarvairish.org. Also, for golf lovers, there's a St. Patrick's Scramble at Eagles Landing this Saturday at 9:30. For all the info, visit marylandscoast.org.
Tune in this Tuesday at 4:40 p.m. as I'll be live with Dr. Tiny and the housing segment. Learn how we can create housing options that work for everyone in our community. This Tuesday at 4:40.
Your turn, Delmarva, with MJ Powell, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6. Live and local, and taking plenty of your phone calls on national and local topics, along with guest interviews, right here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Monty Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues, my friends. If you've watched this program, you know that I have tried to keep energy at the very front page of what we deal with every Friday, and I've had energy guests on, and it is just, well, obviously now we're realizing, I believe, that energy and the availability of cheap energy is a national security priority. But I want to welcome in Faith Burns, Policy Fellow, Energy Policy, Americans for Prosperity. Faith, so glad to have you on your News Talk America. You heard what I said about energy policy. Are energy policy and national security policy one and the same?
Yes, sir, they are. And thank you for having me on today to talk about this issue that is so important for every single one of us in this country.
Has the outbreak of Operation Epic Fury proven that energy, cheap and abundant energy, is a national security priority in your estimation?
Oh, it certainly has, because, you know, at the Strait of Hormuz, where we have all the conflict going on in the Middle East right now, roughly 20% of the world's oil and natural gas supply comes out of that vicinity. So whenever anything like that gets shut down, that's a major deal worldwide, and it certainly is an issue here. And I think the moral of the story is we need to know, understand, and be able to take care of ourselves.
I just heard this morning that the Trump administration has announced that they are relaxing some of the sanctions on Putin's Russia over oil. What do you make of that move?
Well, now I'm not our national security expert. We have some other folks internally here and at Concerned Veterans for America who are probably better suited to discuss that situation. And in that vein, I would actually direct your listeners to a YouTube video that our Concerned Veterans for America just did here like a day or two ago. And they had a panel discussion with a number of people talking about the international relations aspect of it and the foreign policy aspect. So that's okay. They're probably better to discuss that segment than I am.
The president was right, I believe, when he demanded drill, baby, drill, and undid most of what Joe Biden did to our energy policy in this country. But the fact is that this nation was far better off. We were much better prepared for this war because of what is, in essence, energy independence, right?
Yes. It's, as we all, I've been here close to 3 years, and I've worked in the energy field before I even got here. But learning to be not only independent and self-sufficient in life, but in energy is critical for us. And we have the resources in the ground in the lower 48 and in Alaska. We just need to be able to extract those resources. And yes, it is very, very important for us to be energy independent.
Faith Burns is joining us, Policy Fellow, Energy Policy, Americans for Prosperity. It's interesting, Faith, when we talk about energy and energy policy, because we have a dual-edged sword here, and it's AI. AI has been thrust into the spotlight in this country and worldwide. AI is, well, let's put it this way, we're not going to dominate AI unless we have the energy available for AI data and AI development centers. But what's happened is that, our politicized energy sectors in this country, namely those who produce electricity, and yes, they've been highly politicized, but it's right now we're seeing that ratepayers are starting to pay more because of the energy that is being needed by AI and AI development. There's something called a ratepayer protection pledge. What do you think about that? Do you think it's going to have any measurable effect on what Americans pay for electricity?
Sure. I think it's a fabulous thing. President Trump convened a number of data center folks here a few days ago at the White House, where a number of entities, including Google and Meta and some of the other folks, they agreed that they would basically build their own power or pay their own way. And that is fabulous. And the reason why is because, as you had indicated, AI and data centers consume a lot of energy. And in order to supply not only the millions of homes and businesses we have across this country already, we're going to have additional energy needs as AI and data centers continue to expand. And it only makes sense for those who basically incur and cause the cost to be required to pay for those costs. So if the president could get that pledge out of those folks, that's fabulous. And that should be a good sign to ratepayers. But we will have to see how it plays out.
Well, this is new territory for us, isn't it, Faith?
It is, because it's interesting. The electricity sector is both a federal component and a state component. I was at a meeting here a few months ago, and a lady stood up and she said, I'm an attorney and I've been practicing X amount of years, and I still don't understand my electric bill when I get it. and that's
what happens when you let politicians get involved in generating electricity, and they use it as a political weapon against the party or people that they don't like, and they prop themselves up with all sorts of interesting deals and climate deals and so forth. And that's unfortunately that's what we have, right?
That's correct. And hopefully, as we go forward, what I think is happening now, a lot of the state utility commissioners, as well as FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, they understand the issues. I think there's a huge focus on cost and reliability of power. And I think no matter what happens in the political world, they're focused on that. And they know that ratepayers are very concerned about the affordability of all this.
And we need to be concerned, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. Now, one of our listener producers, Wolf, asks of you, Faith, on our Dial Interactive board, isn't it about time to implement, I think it's Nikola Tesla's concept of free energy technology? What do you say to that?
Well, free energy would be fabulous. I'm not quite sure how to do that, although I have done some research on Mr. Tesla. And he was a fascinating person, and he was incredibly intelligent. So I don't know how to get free energy, but I would say I would probably sign up for it if it was available for me.
I would too. Who wouldn't, right? Our producer Eric wants to ask you, this is what the strategic reserves are for. Will nations together be able to lower prices using some of these strategic oil releases? Well, we've had release of strategic oil reserves not only here in the U.S., but all over the world. We're loosening the restrictions on Russian oil sanctions. Obviously, there's a push to get oil supplies up and lower the jitteriness in the oil markets. Would you agree, Faith?
Right, there is. The International Energy Agency announced a few days ago that it was releasing 400 million barrels of their stockpiles, so to hopefully calm down markets and get energy to the world. And of that, like 172 million barrels are from the U.S. So hopefully that will do something to calm things. We don't know yet.
Thank you so much, Faith Burns, Policy Fellow, Energy Policy, Americans for Prosperity. Faith, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, sir.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach. And 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
They've recovered 2 more American bodies in Iraq. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. Central Command confirms it's now all 6 crew members dead in the crash of a military refueling plane in Iraq after it collided with another plane in air that was able to safely land.
Please keep these brave airmen, their families, friends, and units in your thoughts in the coming hours and days.
The military's top general, Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane, says the crash was not caused by enemy or friendly fire. As Operation Epic Fury against Iran is in day 14, President Trump tells Fox's Brian Kilmeade radio show,
we've knocked out many of their drones. We've knocked out a lot of the manufacturing areas where they manufacture the missiles and now the drones. We're hitting them harder than anybody's been hit since World War II.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth said this morning today will be the most intense one yet with more strikes than ever.
We will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing. No quarter. No mercy.
Hegseth also says Iran's leadership has gone underground like rats. And the new supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei, who replaced his now dead father, is himself weak and injured.
The military capabilities of their evil regime are crumbling. They can barely communicate, let alone coordinate. They're confused, and we know it.
There was a big explosion in Iran's capital, which Israel vowed to target again today. And there was a big protest there. Thousands out chanting death to America and death to Israel. Iran keeps threatening oil shipping in the region and targeting Gulf countries that house U.S. bases. But oil prices, they're down a little bit this morning as economic growth falls. An update this morning revises fourth quarter GDP growth down, cutting the initial estimate in half, now just 0.7%. In Michigan, praise for security at a synagogue near Detroit, where they shot and killed the man who drove his car inside, where kids were in school and then started shooting.
If they had not all done their jobs almost perfectly, we would be talking about an immense tragedy here today with children gone.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin, America's listening to Fox News.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
Delmarva's home for local news at 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
The news is brought to you by Wings to Go Long Neck. Open every day at 11 a.m. Order on DoorDash or call 302-947-9444.
A Delaware state trooper is on leave after a shooting that happened when officers served a warrant in Greenwood. Police say Jeffrey Mitchum barricaded himself in a camper and made threats at the home on Wheatfield Road, including sending images of a handgun and a coffin. After refusing to surrender, the trooper shot Mitchum in the arm. Mitchum tossed out his weapon, exited, and was later arrested. He is hospitalized with serious injuries. He's facing multiple charges, being held on $43,000 bond. The trooper's on routine administrative leave during the use of force probe with the Department of Justice. A man from Salisbury sentenced to life plus 60 years in Wicomico County Circuit Court for first-degree murder and related charges. Prosecutors say 18-year-old Michael Elliott was involved in the April 2023 gang dispute tied to a social media video. It led to a shooting outside a restaurant that killed one person and seriously injured another. One co-defendant pleaded guilty to murder. Another was convicted as an accessory. Delaware is ramping up its statewide early literacy plan with an almost $8 million boost in new funds. The program's getting $1.9 million state implementation grant money and another $6.1 million in Bridge to Practice grants for 25 districts and charters. The state says the focus of that program remains on reading instruction, strong teaching, and leadership with no new programs. Progress will be tracked statewide. They say the goal will be to have every child in Delaware schools reading at grade level by the time they reach the third grade.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Partly sunny and windy for the afternoon, the high 48. Tonight, strong winds will subside, partly cloudy, low 43. Then temperatures will go up to the 40s overnight. Partly sunny and breezy tomorrow, 55. Sunday, cloudy and breezy, 53 at the beach, 61 inland. Maybe a storm on Monday, very windy, and there could be hail and damaging winds then, too. More on these and other stories, you can visit talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Jerry Lademan in the Talk of Delmarva News.
Craving wings? Head to Wings to Go Long Neck, now under new ownership, where flavor meets freshness. Choose from 29 sauces and dry rubs. Enjoy traditional or boneless wings, always cooked to order. Try cheesesteaks and their popular soft-shell crabs. Conveniently located at 25938 Plaza Drive in Millsboro. Open daily at 11 a.m. Call 302-947-9444 or order on DoorDash. Wings to Go Long Neck, simply great wings since 1985.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. As far as our streaming is concerned, hour number 2. Great to have you with us. If you want to watch the broadcast, you're tired of just listening to the radio or the audio, realnewstalk.com. You can also watch the broadcast on Facebook Live. Yes, I am wearing a tie today, so that you will not be surprised at that. I want to welcome in our next panelist. We're going to talk about the Iran war and sad news from the Pentagon. I suspected it this morning, my friends, that all of the crew members, the 6 crew members on the Air Force plane, were killed. It appears to be a mid-air collision over Iraq, and everyone on board was killed. We will remember those airmen this morning on Salute the Troops. That comes your way at about 11:50 Eastern Time. Now, I want to welcome Todd Sheets, author of the newsletter on Wealth and Progress. You can also follow Todd on his podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Todd is also the author of the book 2008, What Really Happened? Let's hope we never see the likes of 2008 again. I also want to welcome back Judd Dunning, radio talk show host, author of the book 13 and a Half Reasons Why Not to Be a Liberal. He says, Mr. Dunning, that is, that peace through strength in Iran is not Iraq 2.0. Todd, welcome to the broadcast. And, you know, it was interesting this morning. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, you would have thought, I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch his presser this morning, but it appeared that Pete considers the media in this country every bit as dangerous as the regime in Tehran. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think I did not see the press conference, but I think it's clearly one of the biggest things that we're fighting against here. And it's pretty extraordinary at the beginning of a war effort to have the country so divided right up front. You know, in the past, I think we've gone into wars like Vietnam that the Democrats put us into, or later Iraq when the Republicans put us in there, with a great deal of bipartisan support, which sometimes fractures later on when people begin to think that the costs of the war are not matching up with what we expect to be the, you know, benefits for the United States and the world, the free world as a whole. But in this case, to have the opposite party, you know, dead set against this and looking for reasons to call it a failure from the very beginning is a really historically unique and disappointing and frustrating kind of development.
Yeah, I mean, he was angry. He was as angry as a junkyard dog this morning at the media. And by the way, our good friend David Zier from Real America's Voice News, David actually, he was going to be on this broadcast today, but couldn't because he had to go to the Pentagon to cover the presser this morning. Sure enough, David got one of his questions answered, so good for him. Let me welcome back Judd Dunning. Judd, let me ask you your thoughts. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the presser this morning, but did you hear and see what I saw, that Pete Hegseth does not like the narrative that the media is getting out there on the war effort?
I think nothing's changed. Trumpism, racism, vaxism, climatism, cultural Marxist, progressive left will challenge and debase everything Trump does. Trump's fulfilling a promise, very simpler. He's been doing it, right? He had 43 lawsuits. His family would have been in jail, $91 million fine, 2 impeachments, 2 assassination attempts. We have a president leading without fear of other people's opinions, and he's just following up on this situation. And I think that did we ever anticipate support from the left in the current last 10 years of what we've seen going on with Donald J. Trump? So I think we could have like a Vietnam Victory Day early, and he would still be critiqued. So, I mean, rightfully so. American lives are at stake. The Iranian people's freedom, it's been radically repressed since 1977, is at stake. I think Hegseth's spirit is appropriate and matches Donald Trump's narrative.
Oh, no question about it. That the two of them are a match made in heaven. I want to also welcome in our very good friend, Brigadier General Blaine Holt, U.S. Air Force retired, host of the podcast Dangerous Intellectuals. There's a link on my show notes to go right to the website for Dangerous Intellectuals. General Holt, your thoughts on what Pete Hegseth said this morning with respect to the media. He believes the media is every bit a threat than the Iranian regime. And what say you, sir?
Well, more of that, Pete. But while you're throwing rocks at the reporters, don't think they come by these words and these script cards honestly. Let's go up channel. Let's go to where the money sits. There's 6 families that own most of the mainstream media, if not all of it, and they control narratives, and they control narratives in conjunction with elements of what we would call the deep state.
Right.
And there is a civil war inside the Beltway, and it is playing out in very muddly ways. So let's just get this straight. You have an entire media machine that is contorting itself to defending the Ayatollah and the mullahs who not only have killed U.S. soldiers, not only have foisted terrorism on us and right back to the 54 hostages in 1979. But we're trying to pursue a nuclear weapon to not just use in Israel, but with us. And yet they do that. Now, I'm going to expand that because we always go, oh, this is the left. This is the left. This is the Democrats. The Democrats are doing stuff. Oh, stop. There is no aisle in D.C. Go over to the silent idiots over there on the GOP side who look the other way. They won't approve any appointees. They won't codify any executive actions, no DOGE cuts. And they're ready to run the shot clock out on the Trump administration's time. So they're all in on it together. It's not an organic thing. This is not the national discourse. This is the deep state trying to save itself and the swamp trying to go for business as usual. They're just offended by the president doing anything that might lead to stronger security, national security in the United States.
Now, General, yesterday you were talking about false flags. What is a false flag? And you were advising us yesterday that we should be questioning everything. What should we question?
If you see a shooting, let's take one in Michigan, for instance.
Yeah.
You have the shooting in the synagogue. It's terrible. It's terrible. 350 police cars show up to that? Are you kidding me?
I could not. I have to tell you, General, you're absolutely. I couldn't believe all the law enforcement vehicles that showed up there. Not that I'm saying they shouldn't have, but it tells me that how many police cars needed?
Any attack, anything that goes down in this country, it could be organic. You could be seeing cell activation from the Iranians. You could be seeing cell activation from any variety of groups from 4 years of open borders. But you could also be looking at something that. Let's see, people are looking away from. It just is allowed to happen. How many times have we been told, oh yeah, he was on an FBI watch list? Americans need to start questioning everything. Think critically, and stop taking this syringe called the mainstream media that passes you a narrative and tells you, oh, well, sleeper cells are getting activated off the California coast and we might see drones coming in from the ocean. Really? Tell me more about this. Let's examine that. Let's question this stuff. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm just saying that right now, your government needs to be held up to scrutiny. And you know what? That's not radical. That's what your founders did. That's important. And we need to keep on. You want to support President Trump and his crusade to help us? Help him. Question these things. And that's what Pete Hegseth was doing this morning with the media. And I think that that's necessary and we need more of it.
Todd Sheets, you say that Operation Epic Fury is a historic opportunity. Why?
Yeah, so I think one of the underappreciated things that's going on here is that if, we talked about when all of this stuff started back in the late 1970s. And if you go back to that time, there was a wave of anti-Americanism that brought the Ayatollahs to power in the Middle East with this promise of a government-driven and government-mandated solution that would make their lives better. We saw the same things happening in South America over this 50-year period of time when Chavez came to power in Venezuela on the promise of democratic socialism and how much better that would make it. And these were very anti-American movements. They used anti-Americanism to stir up the locals. And now what we're sitting here 50 years later, and we are seeing the beginnings of these dominoes falling in a different direction throughout South America and in Venezuela. The people who have lived through the nightmare of these government-driven regimes have seen how bad it's become, and they now want to move back in a pro-American, pro-capitalist way. And that's true throughout the Middle East. And the biggest thing that's preventing it has been Iran, with this autocratic religious zealotry and trying to use that to prevent Saudi Arabia and others from joining the Abraham Accords and moving towards the United States and Israel, embracing the Western values and the capitalism that has the only thing that has historically lifted people up out of the kind of repression and economically subjugated circumstances that they're in. And that's what we're doing over there, is we're creating an opportunity to shut down the one regime that's preventing that from happening. And if we do, the Middle East will be safer, the world will be safer, and America will be safer, and China will be even more isolated than it is already becoming after the Venezuelan move. So this is a potentially hugely historic moment.
And let me ask Judd Dunning, you say peace through strength in Iran is not Iraq 2.0. Can you explain, Judd?
Yeah, I mean, if you go through, I said it's a 45-year stalemate, right? I mean, we had the crisis, as Blaine just discussed, right? We had the Hezbollah bombings, the military barracks in Beirut, right? We had the Khobar Towers,
right?
The Iranian-backed killing of hundreds in Iraq. We've had proxy wars through Hezbollah and Shiites, right? We had the shipping lanes, and America has slapped around Iran, and suddenly it's a big problem. But we do it because, like, it would be like America using 5 black armies across the nation that never take responsibility. So we're ending a dark proxy war against this power, that they were just mentioning. So you have to look at history. And the other thing is too, I mean, I think we have to remember they were at 60% purity they're at weapons grade.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the birthplace of math. You don't think they have the scientists to push this below? You don't think they're still doing it? I mean, this, for what I've heard, Blaine, and I'd be interested in your opinion, is from I have some pretty high up relations in the military as well, is the reason this moved quickly was there were backdoor threats of actual, military grade weapons ready to be challenged. So nuclear 1, 2, I mean, the other thing I think we're thinking about is, I just want to say this to all your listeners. I mean, war is sad. This is difficult to watch after Gaza. The loss is extremely painful as an American. I mean, I'm pro-American, but you can see the suffering of these. It is very hard to rebuild a neighborhood flattened. Think about a hurricane in America. It's very difficult for these people. But these people have been radically repressed since 77. They killed people. They burned theaters with 400. For a very long time, the separation between wealth and poor, there's like 23-1. These people have really, really been repressed. So on the democracy side, it is a beautiful thing. I completely agree with Todd.
General, what do you think about the threat of Iran and how close they were to having the ability to fire a nuclear weapon at Israel and eventually the United States? Was that a false flag? Do you think that's something we should question, or you think that it should be accepted as fact, and that's why we went to war? What do you think?
Now, from the folks I talked to, it does seem to me that a lot of tripwires were getting passed on very, very rapidly, and that we didn't have a lot of time. I think legitimate intelligence would back that up. The other part is it's not just about a big mushroom cloud bomb that goes off someplace. It's about you have now material that could create a dirty bomb that can just absolutely take out a U.S. city. And if you get it exported the right way, then you're off to the races. And let's not forget Iran's allegiance and relationship through its proxies, Hezbollah, the IRGC, working with Venezuela, working with Tren de Aragua and the cartels. The president has had a war against the cartels underway. They are under pressure. And that links right into Iran. So again, you gotta take this fight. But what we don't need to do is do in Iraq or in Afghanistan. What we don't need to do is hijack a revolution that should get underway. We need to aid and abet one. So wherever you want a bomb, you let us know. We'll put it there. And then we don't need to get into the business of picking their leader. So Shah 2.0, well, I'm sure that's what the city of London would just love to see, since they're the ones who put the original Shah into place in 1952.
That's right.
He didn't play ball eventually, and then all of a sudden the French and the British intelligence services hatch the Islamic extremist movement and fly Khomeini in
from
79.
Paris. Yeah, from Paris.
And so the idea that these were organic things, or that these things just happen, fleetingly, and they're just world events, well, that's what the State Department would have you believe. But I think we should go back to the front part of the Trump administration, where all of the DOJ investigations highlighted a very big deal about the State Department's relationship with USAID and the CIA, and what that money was really used for through the NGO system. That's what opened up your borders in the Darien Gap. That's what foists these things. That's where these color revolutions come from. And if you think that Mockingbird and Ultra and Operation Gladio aren't real, you're just not reading enough.
You're watching Your News Talk America. It's Digital Interactive Friday. You just heard from Brigadier General Blaine Holt. We're also joined by Todd Sheets and Judd Dunning, back with our panel. We're talking about war and asking questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, and we need to. More of your questions coming your way. Plus, we have our producers' questions, and we'll get to those in just a moment. On Your News Talk America. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Partly cloudy this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 50. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 43. Highs level off around 57 tomorrow. Highs around 60 Sunday under mainly cloudy skies. 69 Monday. Storms likely. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Right now, 39.
Where Delmarva comes to talk. 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. Mike Bradley mornings on WGMD.
This 11 a.m. Wellness Minute is locally brought to you by Pam Health Rehabilitation Hospitals. Recovery doesn't end when the hospital stay does. That's why Pam Health offers specialized support groups for individuals recovering from stroke, brain injury, or amputation, and for the families who walk that journey beside them. Their support groups offer a strong, understanding community, both in person and virtually, where you can share experiences, ask questions, and receive real support and advice from those who've been there. As one member said, the doctors and therapists helped me recover my body. The support group helped me recover myself. To learn more, visit pamhealth.com. That's pamhealth.com.
This year, trust experience has stood the test of time. Complete Tree Care has been proudly serving Sussex County for over 25 years. From expert pruning to storm cleanup and tree removal, we've been keeping properties safe and beautiful for decades. Start the new year with a company you can count on. Complete Tree Care, 25 years of trusted local service.
Call today, 302-947-2273, or request an estimate at CompleteTreeCare.com.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD. Proudly serving the nation's summer capital and the white marlin capital of the world. 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, Delmarva's news, talk, and sports station.
Hey guys, it's
It's Rob Carson of the Rob Carson Show, now on the Talk of Delmarva's 98.5.
News on the hour on WGMD.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. Let's get to the Dial Interactive board. There's a mess of questions here for our panel on the Iraq War. And let's go to the first question. I'm going to point this to General Holt and then ask our two other panelists, Todd Sheets and Judd Dunning, to respond as well. If we can keep these responses as concise as possible, I want to get to as many questions as I can here. Eric says or asks, how would you assess the operation at this point, and when can we expect the Iranian people to come out and take back their homeland? That's the $64,000 question at this point, Eric. Where are the Iranian citizens that are needed to take the streets to take their country back? General Holt.
Helping them understand to keep their powder dry, stay down as low as they can before it's time. We're in communication, I know, that with several different groups. What we don't want to see is when this thing gets going and they take back their country, we don't want to see a balkanization. We don't want to see a fragmented Iran splinter apart. And so we'll help them. And then how is it going? A+. You could not ask for a better operation or campaign so far in how it's been orchestrated when you think of the sheer number of sorties, targeted events. But now job number one is the straits have got to be opened. And that is, for many reasons, the straits have got to be opened forcefully right now.
Todd Sheets.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up on that last comment. And as you asked, I'll keep it short. I think there's here, as we step in the Straits of Hormuz under control, there will probably be a need for us to remain in place for a period of time to continue to ensure the safety of the ships and people moving through there. And as we do that, that is another nail in China's geopolitical coffin to go along with what happened in Venezuela. If you think about us controlling Venezuela's oil reserves, then potentially moving into a position where we are controlling what's happening in the Middle East and the movement of 20% of the world's oil and nearly half of China's oil consumption.
Oh, China has a lot to lose with America in control of their oil. Let me just get to Judd Dunning. Judd, your thoughts on how the Operation Epic Fury is going to this point? Well, did you mute your microphone, Judd?
Sorry about that.
There you go. Go ahead.
The Trump state was early April, right? So we're at day 13. So we'll see how fast that goes. But I think lessons hard earned. America's humane, so I think we have to adjust. I mean, there's so many different factions fighting to come into the void, and we're definitely, like you said, we're nation building. We're not going to replace, but at the same time, we're definitely going to influence. So I say we run out to the end of the year.
Let's get to the next question. This from producer Eric. Why is China getting its oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz while others are sitting idle? General Holt.
Well, the quickest way to get China into this war and have Chinese Navy sailing up and down the Straits of Hormuz is to make sure that they're cut off of all oil. You have to allow that. Right now, the Chinese are staying on the sidelines. Why is that? Because they have so much internal strife and factionalism inside the CCP itself. They're in a bad way. And in China, they are hoarding the fuel, meaning speculators are not allowing as much to be sold. You've got kilometers and kilometers of gas lines. And so it's in our best interest right now that oil at least does make it to China to keep them in the bullpen for now.
Quickly, General, do you think President Trump should postpone his trip to Beijing for later this month?
If I was advising him, I would love him to do that. Gordon Chang and I are standing on the sidelines screaming, please don't go right now. But he's going to go, and he's going to do his thing, and we'll see what comes. It'll be
but his life could be in danger. That's what I'm concerned about.
I don't think that you're going to see anything bad physically happen to him. Think about what that means on the world stage. I'm not so concerned about that as I am the Chinese using that for a negotiable pivot.
General, I'm going to remain with you for this question. What effect will the Iran operation have on NATO as a whole? NATO has taken a role, obviously, because one of our member countries, Turkey, well, we could leave that for another day, but they are taking an active role in protecting Turkey. Your thoughts?
Well, okay. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. And that's just a convoluted mess. NATO has been absolutely feckless in this entire thing, and the UK has been the worst of all of the NATO states by trying to deny us basing rights, by using Lloyd's of London as a way to financially close the straits, and by allowing Mujtaba Khomeini the ability to have 150 million of luxury real estate without even freezing the assets. So with friends like that. And then Macron and Starmer late breaking offering forces, and it's like just lose it. Just we'll address you later, Europe. You're not helping.
Todd Sheets, how not so special is the relationship now between the United States and the UK, which General Holt was just talking about? How damaged is the relationship between 10 Downing Street and the White House, in your estimation?
Yeah, it's severely damaged. And as I wrote in a recent Substack piece, there is no NATO anymore. There is only the United States. And if you need evidence of that, you don't need to look any further than what's happened in Ukraine, where Russia, whose economy is about the size of Italy, is 4 years into a battle. And all of Europe is still sitting on their hands waiting for the United States to do something about it.
Isn't that what they always do, though, Todd?
Well, it hasn't always been. If you go back 100 years, it wasn't that way. But
no, that's true.
Since the end of World War II.
No, that is true. Todd Sheets, thank you so much. The author of the newsletter on Wealth and Progress. Your podcast also available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. The author of the book 2008, What Really Happened. Judd Dunning, radio talk show host, author of 13 and a Half Reasons Why Not to Be a Liberal. Thank you, Judd, for coming on with us. And, of course, our good friend Brigadier General Blaine Holt, U.S. Air Force, retired, host of Dangerous Intellectuals, the hottest podcast property in the world right now. Thank you, panel, for coming on. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You're watching Your News Talk America. Back after this.
Here's a marine forecast from the Taco Del Marva Weather Center. A small craft advisory will be in effect for today. We'll start off today with west winds around 5 knots, switching to the south and increasing up to around 20 to 25 knots with gusts of 35 knots later on in the afternoon. Seas around 2 to 3 feet, building to 4 to 6 feet by this afternoon. Tides for Rehoboth Beach, low tide 10:22 a.m., high tide 4:19 p.m., low tide 10:14 p.m. For Cambridge, low tide 6:12 a.m., high tide 12:44 p.m., low tide 7:26 p.m. The current water temperature is 45.
The number one source for information, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. Jake Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
More jobs opened up than expected in January. The Labor Department's Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey found 6.9 million available jobs on the last business day of January, more than expected, and up from December, which had been revised higher to 6.6 million. The University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment reading for March came in at 55. It suggests those responding are less confident than recent weeks. The gross domestic product for the fourth quarter of last year rose just 0.7%. For the year ending in January, the PCE inflation reading moved down to 2.8%. Excluding food and energy, though, it rose slightly to 3.1%. Crude oil prices eased slightly, and stocks moved higher today. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosolda. Invested in you.
Progressive presents Heroes That Keep Truckers Going. Today's hero, the Rest Up Bathroom Custodian. Is there toilet paper? No. Paper towels? No. Clean stalls? Also no. But the soap dispenser is full, and that counts for something. Thanks, hero. Know what else keeps truckers going? Progressive's expanded cargo protection through their enhanced Cargo Plus coverage. Get a quote at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Not available in California. Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday continues, my friends. This morning on Salute the Troops, we are going to remember the 6 airmen who were killed in that KC, I guess it's KC-135 or is it KC-135 aircraft that collided with another aircraft over Iraq. I was doing Salute the Troops this morning, and I was going to strictly remember the Lieutenant Colonel Shaw, United States Army, who was teaching that class at Old Dominion yesterday. And then I said, the information was coming in with respect to the 6 who died, although it wasn't immediately obvious that the 6 had died. The Department of War announced this morning that 4 had died, but it was pretty obvious that all 6 were killed, sadly. So we'll remember them both. In the first Salute the Troops, where we are remembering not only a fallen soldier who was killed by a terrorist at Old Dominion University, but also 6 airmen who their mission was to refuel aircraft in the air, and died by way of an accident, a mid-air accident over Iraq, friendly territory, obviously. Producer Eric has posted a question for me, Dial Interactive Board. Will Minnesota get away with most of the fraud, and who pays the money back? Well, those who have been indicted and sentenced so far are members of the Somali community, Eric. If you're talking about Tim Walz and Ellison and the rest of them, don't expect them to be convicted of anything. I just think that, we're like every other Washington-based scandal and every other taxpayer, the absconding of taxpayer monies. We're the ones that are going to pay, and we're the ones that are going to pay it back. That's unfortunately what I think is going to happen. I don't trust Pam Bondi to put anyone responsible in government behind bars for this. And if we find out how Ilhan Omar and her husband became multimillionaires, perhaps something will happen then. But again, I wouldn't even I wouldn't even guess that even that is going to happen. That those involved in Congress are going to be held accountable. I just think that until we change Washington, it's up to us. Remember, we are the ones that have the voice. We're allowing the Department of Homeland Security to be defunded. And that's what they've done. The Demcoms are saying they want to defund ICE. Well, they can't defund ICE because it's already been funded because of the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill. So they find a way to defund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what they do. They are, unfortunately, the enemy of America. And until Americans start standing up to this enemy, I just don't see anything changing, sadly. We're waiting for our next panelist to join us. So while we're waiting, let's get to our Salute the Troops segment, and hopefully he will join us by then. The topic is, what's going on with our kids in school? Why are they turning into what appear to be paid protesters? Well, we'll see if Alvin joins us in a moment if we get the answer to that question.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Partly cloudy this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 50. Winds out of the south, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 43. Highs level off around 57 tomorrow. Highs around 60 Sunday under mainly cloudy skies. 69 Monday. Storms likely. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently, it's 40 degrees.
The Ben Ferguson Show, Sundays at 7 p.m. on WGMD's 98.5. You're listening to WGMD.
Step into safety with a splash of style. At Bell House Medical, we're known for the Master Grab Bar, the key to bathroom safety. With a kaleidoscope of colors, styles, and sizes, these aren't just grab bars. They're a peace of mind with a pinch of pizzazz. I'm Steve Bell, and I professionally install custom grab bars based on your height, room layout, and decor. Ready to brighten up your bathroom? Give us a ring. 302-644-4404. Bell House Medical, your mobility partner.
This month at First State Chevy, get behind the wheel for less. Save up to $9,000 on 2025 Chevy Silverados. Power, capability, and value all in one bold package. Prefer a smooth tech pack ride? Take advantage of 1.9% APR for 36 months on 2026 Chevy Equinoxes. Comfort and efficiency with payments that make sense. Hurry, these deals won't last long. Visit First State Chevy on Route 113 in Georgetown or shop online at firststatechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
This is the Rehoboth Foodie. WGMD listeners know that Newsmax insider columnist Michael Hurd and I occasionally sit in weekdays for Mike, Jake, and MJ. Dr. Hurd is a mental health professional and a weekly self-help columnist in the Delaware Beaches newspaper. Be sure to check out Dr. Hurd's most recent books, Grow Up America and Bad Therapy, Good Therapy, available exclusively at drhurd.com. That's drhurd.com.
The need for blood is constant, but sometimes that need becomes critical. The Blood Bank of Delmarva needs your help, and first-time donors are encouraged to help Delaware and the Eastern Shore of Maryland residents who need it most. To schedule your appointment, call 1-888-8-BLOOD-8 or visit delmarvablood.org. Your one blood donation can help save multiple lives. For more information, go to the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
To honor those men and women who have defended freedom whenever and wherever it was threatened, the Talk of Delmarva presents Salute the Troops.
Salute the Troops honors those who were lost to our nation yesterday. 4 airmen are confirmed dead who were aboard a U.S. Air Force KC-135 refueling aircraft when it crashed in Iraq. There were a total of 6 crewmen aboard. The Department of War has not yet released the names of the dead. Salute the Troops will update you when more information on the crash of the KC-135 is released by the Department of War. Salute the Troops honors the ultimate sacrifice of United States Army Lieutenant Colonel Brandon A. Shaw, who was murdered by an Islamic terrorist while teaching an ROTC class at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia yesterday. Colonel Shaw was a professor of military science at Old Dominion, the university's Army Reserve Officers Training Corps program. He pursued his MBA at the University of Georgia while stationed at Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, where he served as the Director of Operations Brigade S3 for the 3rd Combat Aviation Brigade. Shaw's military career spanned over 2 decades, beginning with his enlistment as an aviation operations specialist back in '03. After commissioning as an officer, he became a senior aviator with more than 1,200 flight hours and 600 combat hours. Salute the Troops honors those lost to our nation yesterday. The 6 honored dead aboard the KC-135 refueling aircraft and United States Army Lieutenant Colonel Brandon A. Shaw. If not for their ultimate sacrifice defending freedom and liberty whenever and wherever it was threatened, this nation could not. This nation would never have remained free. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
As a family member or friend, you may be the first to notice when a veteran you love has been going through changes. Things like withdrawing, drinking more, or increased anger could be a sign of a larger health concern. But help is available. Listen to hundreds of inspiring stories at maketheconnection.net and learn how you can support the veterans in your life. Treatment works. Recovery is possible.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Our News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues live from DS2. And my friends, in 1970, it was around this time, I think it was in April of 1970, I was in junior high school, and word came to the junior high school, which is just a couple blocks away from the high school that I attended, that high school students were going to walk out of class. Why were they going to walk out of class? Because of something that was called Earth Day. We all thought that was cool. Let's all claim that we're environmentalists and walk out of class. So it was very interesting that there was a big walkout of class that day, both in the high school and junior high school, because we were all playing environmentalists. But something has changed along those lines, and a watchdog report for 2026 reports that thousands of students have ditched class as anti-ICE protests have surged. So let me get this straight. Students are now walking out of class because they're unhappy that illegals are in this country that would deprive them of an education, deprive them of a job, or deprive them of their lives, are being escorted out of the country. What are parents doing about it? Do parents even know what's happening? Let's welcome back to Your News Talk America, Alvin Louie, president of Courage is a Habit. Alvin, how are you? Welcome back to the program.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
I saw you laughing when I told that story about Earth Day back in 1970.
Yep.
But the fact is that this has gotten a lot more serious, and as teachers' unions are taking more of an active role in running school districts and controlling what goes on in the classroom, what should parents and grandparents be taking from these student protests, which are invariably anti-ICE protests?
It's like what you said. They want to protect violent illegal aliens, much to their own demise and their own family's demise.
Right.
So these children that are marching, whether it's middle school or high school, they don't know what ICE stands for, and many of them cannot spell ICE itself. And so, but what they do know is that they are doing what they've been trained to do. And so a lot of parents, when they see this, the marching that's happening, they will say, someone got my child to do it. They listen to a teacher, teachers unions, that kind of thing. But the reality is that it's not a one-time thing because they heard about this 2 months ago. Depending on where you are in the country, your children have been trained to do exactly that since elementary school or at the very latest middle school.
Brainwashing. It's brainwashing, Alvin, isn't it?
It's brainwashing, and it's training. It's not just brainwashing, but it's activation. It's training. And they're training your children to do what we saw in Minnesota last month. So this is all training. They're marching, they're screaming, they're going across the street, they're walking around the block. But that's just training. What they want to do is they want to create more Renee Goods. They want to create more of these people that are just screaming like a banshee.
Yeah, leverage for them. It's leverage for them, Alvin, isn't it?
It is very much leverage, because what they do is that the best thing for the communists, for the anti-American crowd, the anti-white crowd, those people who hate America, the best thing that can ever happen to them is one of your children gets killed or someone gets shot by ICE. It's the best. That is Christmas Day for them. That's Christmas morning, because now they can do all the fascist, the Nazi, and then have Hollywood wear the pin and things. So it's great. It's great. It's great for their strategy. And so sacrificing your children is easy work. It's the goal.
The other day on the Will Cain Show, Fox News Channel, he actually spent 2 days on this. The organization is called the People's Forum. Those are the ones responsible for all of these, you're smiling, all of these protests. So basically what you're saying is our children are being trained to work for the People's Forum. Listen to this audio here. This, again, courtesy of the Fox News Channel, and I want to get your response to this. Here it is.
Fox News Alert. This is a story that we started yesterday, the paid network behind some of the pro-Iran protests we've seen across the country. So who's organizing them? Who's paying for them? Well, they appear to be well-funded, coordinated, branded, in fact, and they look a lot like the other protests that we've seen pop up before. Whether it was ICE or pro-Palestine, it's the same sign, same language, same structure, literally the same font. Some of the protesters are also the same. They're being paid up to a full salary. Investigative journalist Nate Friedman has been digging into paid protesting, and he recently confronted an education director of a group that we told you about yesterday, the People's Forum. They've been receiving funds from a pro-China, pro-CCP American businessman.
Get a real job, be a real journalist, and do something for something in your life. Do
How
something.
can you say with a straight face for me to get a real job? How can you keep a straight face and say that? Did you or did you not get $20 million from Roy Neville Singham? You can't deny it. There it is. Meet Layan Fulihan. She's a paid protester. Her base salary is $70,000 with an additional compensation of $8,649.
Now, it's possible that that person was trained, brainwashed in school, and then went out to work for the People's Forum when they graduated from school. No.
100%. That's exactly. The training centers are the K through 12. A lot of parents believe that the brainwashing begins in college. And so
that's not true. It used to, Alvin, but no more. Now it starts in kindergarten.
That was true 25 years ago. True. Yes. Yeah. But today it starts in kindergarten. And let me explain how it starts in kindergarten.
Please.
Before you get to the screaming high schooler, freshman, sophomore, it begins in K through 12, in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Be kind, anti-bullying, empathy, inclusion. And parents hear that and go, well, that sounds great. You want kids to be kind, but they're being kind to illegal aliens. They're being kind to the mentally ill men in the girls' bathroom.
Right.
And then they introduce things like have compassion for the criminals, compassion for marginalized people. So that's how it starts. They're not going to hand them a sign at kindergarten that says ICE out and Trump's a fascist. They're not doing that in kindergarten because it would make no sense. You have to get them trained to believe things like be kind so that later on you can take that and say you got to be kind to a man who's in a girl's bathroom. You have to be kind to the illegal aliens, the person who's here illegally.
Right.
So that's how it starts. Okay, that's how it starts. Now, I will say, working with parents all over the country, here's the one myth that if I can just have one myth to knock off the table, this would be great. At Courage is a Habit, obviously, we create all these beautiful tools and tactics for parents to take action. But here's the thing, the myth that everybody still has. We still believe that government K through 12 is about academics. And we say things like, if only we can get these pesky teachers out of the way, if we can just get the flags and the BLM flags and the trans flag and the social justice activists, we can get back to academics. Maybe we just get rid of the phones. That will solve everything because the phones are really bad, which they are. But here's the problem. That is the wrong premise. That's the wrong premise, my friend. What you have to understand is the purpose of government K through 12 is to create social justice activists, or if you know your history, is Mao Zedong's Red Guard. So if you come from that perspective, now when you look at K through 12, you're going, wait a minute, this is not these one-off accidents. This is the purpose. And I'd like you to do this poll for your wonderful audience. Ask your audience, how many people believe that government K through 12 public schools are failing? A large majority of your audience will say, I believe they're failing. I disagree. They are not failing. If you look at what they've done to children, what they've done to parental rights, making children believe they're born in a wrong body, anti-white, anti-American, pro-illegal alien, I argue they've been very successful in their goals.
Alvin, that's pretty scary stuff. And from the vantage point of the teachers' unions, who are really, they're flexing their muscle now. They really are. I mean, they're in control of school districts in the Commonwealth of Virginia,
right,
which is not far from where we are here. Mm-hmm. What is the answer for parents and grandparents? I know some teachers are forced to pay the union dues, which prop up the teachers' unions. Some teachers don't want to pay the union dues. They don't want to do this. Tell us what the answer is. What do we need to start thinking about other than attend our school board meetings, run for office, get involved in on watching closely and communicating what's going on inside your schools, right?
Absolutely. So there's the two things I want parents to do. You can't do much about the teachers' unions because they are funded by the teachers, other than telling teachers to not, pay the dues. Right. So an average parent can do very little to hurt the teachers' union. But the teachers' unions, while they drive a lot of this, obviously in schools, they need the foot soldiers to do it. because Randy Weingarten isn't going into your, or Becky Pringle is not going into your schools.
Yeah.
So the foot soldiers is what parents can do about it. And the foot soldiers are not your teachers, even though obviously we have a whole lot of WOOC teachers. It's your school counselors. This is what most parents don't talk about. This is what most shows don't talk about, is the mental health. It's the school counselors. They're the ones that are the foot soldiers of the transgender cult, of DEI. They drive the culture, and they drive it through mental health. Our schools are primarily dominated by mental health initiatives, social-emotional learning, trauma-informed, Tier 2, those kind of things. And every state, all 50 states, spend billions of dollars across the country, billions of dollars on mental health. So here's what I want parents to do when it comes to that side. I want you guys to go to courageisahabit.org and click on collections, and I will send you the link as well so you can put on show notes. Courageisahabit.org, click on collections, and the first one is called Behind Closed Doors. We expose the school counselors for what they are, and it is in all 50 states. So download that, use our opt-out form so that your child opts out of any kind of mental health services at your school. Please do that. If you do nothing else, please just do that. And then share it with 5 other parents, because 99% of parents have no idea that the majority of the indoctrination, anti-ICE, transgenderism comes through mental health and comes through the school counselors, because they hear mental health sounds good.
Right. I'm monitoring. Let me just interject something here, because I'm monitoring our listener producers, their communications here. And one of our producers, Vanessa, says that her daughter comes home and says, "I'm judging people." Is she being you're smiling? She is being indoctrinated then, given the fact that her daughter said, "Mom, you're judging people."
Yes, that's the anti-bullying that the school counselors put in, to be kind. You're not being kind. Now, if, however, her mom or the mom says, "I believe that the woman who doesn't want the man, she needs to learn to be accepting," and she's judging the woman for not wanting the man, that judging's okay.
There you go. So all right, what's your second point, Alvin? Go ahead.
The second point is back to the walkouts.
Yeah.
Parents complain on Facebook about the walkouts, but they don't do anything about it. So the schools don't care if you complain on Facebook. What they care about is if you're in their office and you're in their face. So if you go to courageisahabit.org, again, except this time click on tools, you will see, if you scroll down a little bit on tools, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You go down 6 tools there. There are 7 questions for schools allowing anti-ICE walkouts. It's right there under tools, 6th tool down. I want everyone to download that, and we walk you through how to use these 7 questions. These 7 questions put your school between a rock and a hard place. But we don't want one parent to do it. We don't want 10 or 50. We want like 500 parents to do it, even though that's still a pretty small percentage. But they can't take that. The schools can't take it. They can handle 5 or 7 parents. They can't handle it once it becomes 200, 300, 500 parents. Send this, and we teach you how to use it. It's copy and paste. It is the easiest thing you can do. If you really want to protect your kids, you really want to make a difference here, don't just complain on Facebook. Don't just start sharing articles that the schools don't care about that. Take our tool. We give you this tool to stay on offense. You've got to stay on offense.
You're basically recommending parents and grandparents do shock and awe, Alvin, aren't you?
I am. That's the only thing. That and lawsuits. And you're setting them up for lawsuits. That's the only thing they care about.
Obviously. But then again, our tax dollars pay for the law firms that they have to hire to defend the lawsuits anyway, right? So
that's right. That's true, too.
Alvin Louie, President, Courage is a Habit. It's courageisahabit.org. He's got tools for you, parents and grandparents, to use. Make use of them. Alvin, it's great having you back on the program. We're going to have you back again because you have generated some conversation, significant conversation on our Dial Lounge. Thank you for coming on.
It's an honor, sir.
All right. Thank you. My friends, remember, you have a voice. Make sure your voice is heard loud and clear. Millie, Triel, you're home. Have a great weekend. See you back at it on Monday. Dr. Nan Hayworth is going to join us Monday on Your News Talk America. See you then.